Ladies and gentlemen, this is Zach Moonshine with Metal Devastation Radio, and right now on the phone with me, I have Ben from Goatwhore. Ben, what's going on, Ben?
Pretty good, man. Everything's good. How's everything with you today?
It's going good, dude. So tell everybody out there what's going on in the world of Goatwhore.
Well, currently there's, I guess, the structure of getting ready to head off on a tour in July. Kind of start everything off to cycle for the new record that comes out July 8th through Metal Blade Records. And we're basically starting off July 5th here, hometown, kind of record release show, doing some dates that lead us out to the west to start up with Summer Slaughter in San Francisco. So that's pretty much it. Where right now it's kind of like a lull in things. Our drummer lives in Arizona, our bass player lives in Florida. So right now we're just waiting this weekend. The other guys come in and we start rehearsing and everything for the tour. So we can start getting a set list together, getting everything together on what we're going to do for our little trek this summer.
Cool. The promoter sent over a fucking sneak preview of the record, man, and I listened to a little bit of it, and I got to tell you, man, it's fucking badass.
Thank you very much, man.
What can you tell us about the new record, like the concepts or themes behind the songs and stuff?
Well, overall, there's like, I guess we don't really, we're not too much like of a concept band. Like, well, actually deep concept. Like some bands put together in the whole record as this whole concept flow that kind of connects. It's just an overall thing. We're kind of a more simplistic, cut and dry metal band. We just head straight for the throat, and that's just how we do things. And we have a mixture of styles that influence us. We have black metal, we have death metal, we have thrash metal, we have, more traditional metal like Judas Priest, Motorhead, things like that. Except, older metal stuff, because it's just what we're all into. It's what we grew up on. It's things that, we take into consideration when we're working on stuff that's influenced us, whether it's subconscious or conscious, and it falls into place. And the new record to me is just the next proper step of Goatwhore. It's the next evolution of the record cycle. And if anything, to me, it represents and shows us maturing as a band, us getting better as musicians, things like that, us getting better as writing, putting things together, constructing ideas and things behind that. And the overall aspect lyrically and stuff like that within the record deals with a lot of occult, dark arts, Satanistic, Luciferian kind of things. So, because that's things we've always been into, things that we kind of delve into and are interested in. Am I a devout Satanist? No, but I am really into the symbolic structure behind Satanism. And, everybody in the band has their own ideals and beliefs and things within those structures, but we all kind of share an equal thing with it. And so it all flows within the music, within the lyrics, within everything that we approach in this band.
Fuck yeah, man. Also, I noticed the album art, dude. That is fucking sick, man. How did you guys come up with that?
It's actually, it's just ideas and things in the imagination, in a sense, and things that we read and stumble upon, and then, you kind of conjure things up. But the artist that did it, his name's Jordan Barlow. He also did Blood of the Master as well. And he's just an excellent individual to kind of take all these ideas and everything and give to, and the way he can kind of lay it down on paper and draw it and put it out like that is amazing. And we're really into like the old style of woodcut things, like old Gustave Doré, Albert Dürer, things like that. And he's into those styles as well. So him to kind of put it down like that and draw it like that is very unique. And it represents things. It represents the title. It represents the structures behind all the songs and the lyrics and things like that. It's basically one more element within the whole puzzle put together. And he does a phenomenal job with it. And he's great to work with, because it's just like, I'm horrible at fucking drawing stuff. When I sit with him, I'm drawing these stick figures of things, and he's laughing. And he's like, go ahead, because I'm getting an idea of what you're trying to lay out here. So, I'd do that. Me and Sammy will be sitting down with him. We're like, yeah, and we want this. And I'm drawing this little stick man and this stick thing and this little dragon thing with stick heads and stuff like that. And it's funny. He laughs. Like, I'll even be at home and I'll come up with an idea and I'll draw it real quick and I'll take a picture and I'll send it to him. And he's like, and he sends back, ha, 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 great drawing. And I'm just like, yeah. He goes, no. He goes, it's good. I understand what you're doing. But it's great because he'll come back with it like penciled out on paper. And he's like, so how does this direction look? And you're just like, perfect. Go with it. Ink it. Let's log it in. That's how exactly what we were thinking of. It's like sometimes he does stuff and it's just like it was beyond what I even had in my head. And that's incredible. He's just an incredible artist overall.
That's really, really cool that he can take it like that from a stick figure or whatever, and just go out like that, man.
Yeah. And you'll explain things to him and he'll sit there and he'll write notes. Like, and he'll draw and he'll sketch things out while you're sitting there, just rough sketch. Just like, okay, this, then this. All right, here's these little stick figures. Let's do this. And then he'll write notes next to things. Well, I want this to be like this, and I want the dragon, the serpent, whatever, have 7 crowns and things like that. And he makes a little notes and he jots it all down. And he's just really good and he's really specific about it. And you'll look at it sometimes and he's way picky. And you're like, that looks awesome. He's like, he goes, I think this could be better. He goes, I'm going to fix this. I'm like, wait, but this looks good. He goes, no. And you definitely want the artist in general to be really comfortable with the total outcome as well.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Well, Ben, taking it all the way back to the beginning, one thing I definitely want to ask you is how the hell did you guys come up with the name itself, Goatwhore?
Oh, man, that's that's a whole long story. Well, not that long, but it's like, okay, I'm going to give you the basis of it. It basically came from a drunken night out at a strip club. Sammy was out with some friends of his, and there was one friend of ours in particular that gets pretty obnoxious when he gets drunk. I mean, a lot of us have a friend like that. They just get completely over the top. They always got, and it's funny because when they don't drink, they're the politest, nicest person, and they do things. But then when you get them drunk, they turn into this overly talkative, obnoxious person, and everything that rolls off their tongue is unique. So anyway, they were out at the strip club, and he yelled the term out at some stripper. Like she had her hair in pigtails or something, and the way her face looked, and she was walking around like, I guess trying to do lap dances for people, and he kind of stood up, knocked his chair over, and he yelled at her, and he said something about her being a goat whore. And Sammy was like, that is it, and I'm taking that, and I'm using it, and putting it in place as the name of his man.
That's badass, man. Did she hear that? Well, what was the reaction after that?
I don't know, because it never did. The story doesn't ever evolve beyond that. It's just kind of like, I would have loved to have been there because I wasn't even there when it happened, but just to see the outcome of everything after he said it to her. Like, now that I think about it, I'm like, well, did y'all get kicked out? Was she aggravated, And she said, kick these dudes out because they're just being fucking disrespectful or whatever. But whatever, just knowing him and knowing how he said it and knowing how he gets when he drinks is just funny in itself.
That's awesome, man. Now, also, I wanted to ask. I mean, basically, how did the band get started? I mean, what's for those out there listening?
Well, actually, it's been him and Zach Nolan, the drummer that was on the first 2 Goatwhore records, had put together this band, and they called it Kilgore at first, and it was more like necro kind of black metal band. They were both really into that kind of thing. And then it evolved, and they had gotten certain members, like a guy named Jared was the singer, and another guitar player was in it. His name was Ben, and Pat played bass, who currently plays bass in Down. And then throughout things, Jared left, and then Sammy was proceeding playing guitar. And then Sammy got into there was some kind of brawl that broke out at a bar in Baton Rouge, and Sammy got his jaw broken. And I had heard some of their stuff, and I was really into it. It was, we all didn't grow up together, but we all grew up on a lot of the same things, like early Celtic Frost, Venom, things like that. And so I liked the style that they were doing. And so I'd offered, since he broke his jaw and he had his jaw wired shut, I was like, hey, man, if you want, I see you have some shows coming up. I'd love to kind of fill in and help out until everything heals up. And so we did that. We did the shows and everything. And then once his jaw healed up and he was like that, he was like, well, everything seemed to work out well. So why don't you just stay in the band? And so I stayed in the band, and then, we had some member changes. We had Ben Stout, who was also the other guitar player. He was on the first record, but then he left the band after that. And then, after Funeral Dirge, Zach Nolan left the band, and then Zach Simmons came into the band for A Haunting Curse. And Pat left the band, and he went on to go do Crowbar, and he went on to go do Down. So, we had some little shifts into there. But, Sammy and Zach Simmons have been together, since A Haunting Curse. Now that's 4 records. And, Pat left, and then Nathan came in for 2 records, and then James came in for Blood for the Master, and the newest record, Constricting Rage of the Merciless. And, me and Sammy have been together since, right before the Eclipse of Ages Into Black. And, everybody that's involved, we kind of run on the same idea, and we all pretty much have the same forward thinking of what we want to do with the band. So everything moves really well with that. And the whole cycle kind of is in motion with these 4 members, and it works really well.
Yeah, I definitely say it works good, man. You guys kick ass.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a hard thing because different, and not just us. There's so many bands out there where you see member changes and things like that, and it's hard when a new member comes in because they're fresh to it, and they don't actually. I mean, they might be into the same idea, but when you write together, you create this bond and things like that, and it takes a little while for that to kind of set into place. But luckily enough, when James entered, he was already in another band Sammy had called Ritual Killer. So him and Sammy had a relationship as far as writing and things like that. So he kind of fell into place. So we were lucky enough with that whole thing. And Zach was already in with him. This was like I said, this is Zach's 4th record, with me and Sammy. So, the whole thing's complete right there. Everybody kind of works together really well. We have a lot of focus going on.
Very cool. Now, Ben, I was also reading something that was talking about just all the different kind of stuff that you guys have been through throughout the years, from natural disasters to all kinds of shit. But one thing in there that caught my attention was paranormal activity. What can you tell me about that?
There's just some material. When we did Funeral Dirge for the Rotting Sun, we had this thing happen when we were in the studio. It was a couple of different little things. They were really kind of obscure. The studio was a 2-level house that's in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
And the studio doesn't exist there anymore. I think after the hurricane, it got flooded in the bottom level, and they had cleared it out or whatever. But it was a 2-level house, and the bottom level was the studio, and the top level was still like a house. And if you were a band coming in from out of town and you wanted to spend extra money, instead of going to rent a hotel or anything, you would also pay extra to use the top part of the house. So you could sleep up there, and then you can go down to the bottom. We lived close by, so we just used the studio in general. And so we were there one evening, and we were doing something, and upstairs we heard like people running, 20 people. It sounded like people running back and forth upstairs, tons of people. And so we went upstairs to the area, and it was all locked up. And there's one little stairwell that's within this back part of the studio that you can get up and go to the top. And so we went up there, and there's nothing up there, of course. And then the guys proceeded to tell us that back in the day, the house used to be like a bookie house, the mob did stuff out of it or something like that. And that something happened there, and a bunch of people got killed. And he said, so there's possibility, they could be haunted. I mean, even in New Orleans in general, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Voodoo, different things that happen. The city's got a lot of history to it, a lot of old tales and stuff like that. So there's different places that have hauntings and things going on. So it's not that unreasonable to think of in this place.
Yeah.
And then there was also a night when we were in the main room listening to something. And it was me, Sammy, and the engineer. And we were usually, you're sitting there and you're kind of looking in the direction where the main board is and you're listening to everything. And in the peripheral at the corner of my eye, there was a doorway to the side and it was open. And I saw something move past there. I kind of blew it off, but I looked. And I didn't say anything. And then I was just sitting there, and I kind of looked there again, and then Sammy was like, "Did you see that?" And I was like, "So you saw it too?" And then the engineer was like, "Oh, I'm glad y'all said that, because I saw something. I didn't want to say anything because I think y'all think I was fucking crazy." And he was like, "I swear," he goes, "something just like a full figure just walked by right there in the peripheral out of like the right side past that doorway." And we're like, yeah. And I was like, I didn't want to say anything either, because I just thought it was just late and I was seeing stuff. And then Sammy just saw me like look twice there, so that's when he asked me. So, you know, we had little instances of something like that. So that's kind of like rooted in there. But like I said, the city has a lot of history to it. It has a lot of weird shit that's happened in it.
That's very cool. And I guess, I mean, there's a lot of that bleed into the music too, would you say?
I would definitely say that just influence of being here and growing up here, you know, even musically with like blues and jazz and stuff like that. I think those kind of things just naturally are part of the influence because you grew up around it, you know?
Yeah.
Not necessarily like a conscious thing, more like a subconscious influence that is just kind of instilled there just from being around it. Yeah. You know, usually when you're around anything, there's some kind of influence from it in a sense, you know, on any level, not just music, but just surroundings in general and the way you act, the way you perceive things. So I definitely feel like, you know, being brought up here and living here is definitely some sort of influence in what we do in a music sense, or even, you know, our ideas or concepts behind lyrics and things within what we do.
That's badass. So it's definitely in the water there.
Yeah, it's in the water, or it's just, you know, in the water or in the air, I guess. Both, a little bit.
It's in everything.
A little both. Yeah.
There's no escaping it. Well, one of my favorite songs that you guys have ever done, "Carving Out the Eyes of God," man. What can you tell me about that? What is that song about?
It's pretty brutal title. I remember coming up with it, and I brought it up to Sammy, and he was like, that's unique. But I was reading these things because like I do read biblical stuff as well as, you know, occultist stuff and things like that, just because I like to be well-rounded. And I like to see variations in things, and I like to incorporate it. And I like to do like tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff to kind of make puns of stuff, especially biblical stuff, you know, especially people that are so infatuated with it and then look at it and read it and then see different perceptions from it. And I was reading about the idea of like God building everything. And they said, like, you know, you know, he did it in 7 days or whatever, or it was 6 days and he rested on the seventh day. I don't even remember because it was so long ago. But in essence, you know, that's why they say like the Sunday or whatever is the day of rest or whatever, because he rested. Well, the idea was that he didn't rest. And because he didn't rest, in his delusion and obscurity of being tired from building in all those days and creating everything, he created everything that was vile and nasty and sick. And so there's like that perception of it. And then the idea of perceiving what is evil and what isn't evil, you know, like, because some people think, you know, they use terminologies like demons and things like that to kind of associate personal issues. You know, they're like, well, that's my demons, that's my devil, and things like that. And I think that sometimes, you know, the whole idea of Satan or Satanism gets a bad rap because of these ideals. It's basically like a scapegoat in a sense, you know, because through time, people have kind of put things off on that. Back in the early days, you know, when diseases, they were like, it's marked from the devil and things like that. Well, why does it have to be that? You know, is Satan, you know, it's always been perceived in that, but you know, within things that we read and things like that, it shows other angles where Satan, you know, he represents more freedom, more of kind of moving forward as an individual, you know, the ideas of Lucifer and stories and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different variation and perceptions of it. But the overall thing with carving out the eyes of God was that, like, you know, carving out the eyes of not seeing what's created, what's there, what, you know, what the meaning of evil and good is and how it represents, because he could have been creating delusionally and creating vile, evil things. But you never know. So that was the basic structure of the whole song and everything attacked within the song and being more of a free-willed individual.
Nice. Yeah, that's a fucking brutal fucking song, man. I mean, the name itself definitely, I don't know. That's a fucking brutal title, man.
Yeah, it's pretty. Sammy was pretty stoked when I brought it up, and I was like, yeah, so this. And then we were like, well, let's name the record that too, because it pretty much represented everything about that record.
Yeah. I saw you guys live on that tour. I can't remember who you were opening up for. I think it was Obituary or Watain. I seen you twice in Phoenix. Fucking badass too, man. You guys put on a great live show. Lots of energy. Just total fucking, just devastating the whole way through. Looking back on all your tours and stuff, what would you say is, like, what are some of the biggest memories that you have of, like, the most craziest shit, like, either a show or just something that you've seen at a show?
It's all, this is one of those questions that I try to answer stuff, and then later on when I'm done with the interview, I'm like, oh shit, I could have talked about that and that. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on. It's playing in a band, when you play big venues and stuff like that, like really huge places. It's unique, but I don't know. I feel like I'm like cut from the audience a lot, like, cause then there's like the stage and you're high up and then there's this barricade that pushes people back about 8 feet or so. Whereas when you play a really small place, maybe a little bar in some town or something, and everybody's right there in front of you, it's so much more invigorating, so much more intense, because the people are right there and they're getting into it. And, you're both feeding off of each other. And the moment is so much more spot on with it, And that's just my personal opinion. If you could probably ask another member and they're like, oh, I like playing the big place. And then when we played this big place one time and it was like 5,000 people, we played, Roskilde in Denmark, which is very unique. They have it's a mixture of all kinds of bands, like you could have like Sugar Ross, like when we played, Sugar Ross was playing, and then, Metallica was playing that evening, and Rihanna had played that weekend as well. So you have a lot of different tents that are going on and playing things. But we played in front of like about 5,000 or so people a day in the tent that we played. And that was really unique. But then I can turn around and play, like, we have a show we might have did in a little record store somewhere. Like we played a record store show in Toledo, Ohio, and it was really unique. And the whole idea behind what happened that day, too, because we were on our way to the show. It was kind of a last-minute pickup show because the show got canceled. This guy was like, I'd like y'all to play the record store, so we sorted that out. On the way to the record store, some woman ran into the power pole on the block, and she knocked out the power for like the whole entire block. So when we arrived there, he didn't have any power. So we sent somebody to Lowe's, we rented a generator, we ran lines into the place, we used a little lamp for lighting, and we played a show in there, and all these people showed up, and they were jammed in this little record store to see us play. And that was really unique.
Nice.
So there's so many different aspects that happen that are unique, and it's just like, wow, that's cool. Like we did a show, we played South by Southwest one year, and we played on this boat that ran up and down the little river right there by Austin. And that was unique. It was like, it fit like 50 people, and you were on the top of the boat set up playing, and it just rode along for like an hour while you played your set. And I mean, how many bands get to say they've done things like that? It's something really rare and really unique. It's not, like I said, it's not huge, and it's not really hugely money making or anything. And sometimes, with South by Southwest, a lot of those shows are just like showcases, and you don't really make any money from it. But it was just the unique fashion of it and the way, you fell into place and you got to do it. That's
really cool. Yeah, my personal favorite's always been like the small clubs where I can get right in there, right up in the front. And like when I seen you guys play, it was like that. It was a real small place, and we were just fucking basically inside the PA. It felt like, Yeah. The thing about it is, I think that, not even with us, but I think there's many bands, they don't talk about it much, but I think they do appreciate that as well, because I went and saw Judas Priest. They were playing in Mississippi for the Epitaph tour, and they played at a Hard Rock casino. Well, the casino itself was
it was actually the venue in it wasn't like huge. You know what I'm saying? It was actually pretty like smaller size, and the stage was small, and there wasn't a barricade or anything. And when they were playing, you could feel it. You know, you could feel it. And Rob even said at one point, he goes, "It's been a while since we played a place this small." And he goes, "I have to tell you, I'm having a fucking amazing time." And, you know, and that's what I'm saying. You know, a band of that element who's played arenas and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And had stuff going on. But he even signifies and represents and shows the idea of, we're playing a small place, but everybody in here is having a good time, and you're right in front of me. I mean, dude, he was like 10 feet away from me. You know,
it was
just remarkable. You know, but you see that in that element for them to play something like that, and they're having a good time. You can see a band having a good time from that kind of situation, even more so. And it was just going. They played like 2 hours plus, and he was just like excited the whole time. He's like, "I haven't had this much fun in a long time."
That's really cool. Yeah, they definitely are a lot more fun. I mean, I see the benefit, of course, of doing festival shows and stuff like that, because it's, you know, the bands can get to play for a larger crowd of people that may have never even heard of them before, you know. But I like it whenever you're at a small show, you know, everybody's there for the same thing, and the energy there is just, it's undeniable, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a totally different animal. I can't imagine what it was like seeing Judas Priest in a small place like that, though. That had to be fucking badass.
I mean, its capacity, I think, is like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 or something like that. But you got to think, on the level of things that they play, that's still kind of small. You know, and not only the way it's set up, because there's a floor space with no seats, too. Because usually you play arenas or something like that, and there's seats set up and stuff like that, and everybody's assigned to a spot. There was like a little deck up top that had seats, but then they had this whole floor area that you just stood and watched them, you know? And it's like, that's what it was. And everybody was right there. And like, he was right there, and they had all their gear stacked up, crammed up on the stage. And they were just, you know, they looked like they were having a good time, you know, despite even saying it, you could see it. And when they were playing and everything, and it was like the last show of the tour. Usually the last show of a tour, you know, bands are kind of like, you know, oh, kind of run down. We've been doing this for a month and things like that. And they were just like spot on. It was amazing.
Yeah, they are fucking unstoppable, man. I'm looking forward to getting their new record too, for sure. Hopefully they'll do some touring for that too, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they will, man. I'm definitely sure they will. Speaking of tours, what's you guys' plans for the future? You were saying you got, what kind of stuff you got lined up?
Well, we got, we have the Summer Slaughter thing coming up. We're going to be doing, and then right after that, we're going to be doing the barbecue in honor of Mr. Dave Brocky, Survivors of the War. And after that, we have things in the work. Nothing really solid yet, but maybe do another little run on our own in the U.S. We're trying to work on something for Europe in mid-November to mid-December. And, everything beyond that will flow into the new year. And we'll just keep, once our records drop, we usually tour a good 2 years here and there, off and on, do different tours, things on our own. So, the possibilities are kind of open right now, but they all just kind of fall into place at that point.
Now, for the record, you guys, do you have a pre-order set up right now or anything?
Yes, Metal Blade has a pre-order set up. There's different ones, like you can order the vinyl, you can order the CD. They got a shirt CD package, a shirt vinyl package, a shirt with a patch and a CD, and they have a big bundle that has a shirt, the CD, the vinyl, a poster, a back patch, some other little things. So there's all these different little bundles. And the unique thing, too, about the vinyl one is they're doing they have like a download card in with the vinyl as well. There's a lot of times people buy vinyl, but then they don't have the means to transfer it to a digital way so they can put it on an iPod or anything like that. So they include a download card where they can go somewhere and download the songs as well as not only just having it on vinyl. So that's a plus as well.
That's awesome, man. And they just need to go to Metal Blade Records to do that?
Yeah, if you go to their website and you just get to the Goatwhore link. Even if you went to our site, we have a link for it as well. And, it brings you to their little merchandise page and everything to order the bundles and stuff like that. Yeah.
Badass, dude. All right, man. Well, Ben, I guess I'm about out of questions for you. Is there anything you'd like to tell the listeners and your fans out there?
No, I think we covered a lot of things fairly well, man. Just, the record drops on July 8th through Metal Blade Records. It's entitled Constricting Rage of the Merciless. You have a listen to it, check it out. Come out to a show, check it out in a live setting. Even if you want to do that before you buy a record to try to make sure, you're into it or whatever. By all means, do it. Other than that, keep the faith. Fuck
yeah, man. I'll definitely recommend it to everybody I know. And we will be jamming the fuck out of this record here on Metal Devastation Radio, dude.
Definitely, man. Thank you very much.
No problem. Before I let you go, Ben, can I get you to make us a station tag?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, just say something like, "This is Ben from Goatwhore, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio."
All right, you ready?
Yeah.